A master of assassination with the ability to fight, specializing in books for criminal organizations, is surrounded by an accountant in a small town. A child with autism syndrome is given a genius for the genius. A person who brings many special features has created a character that makes people see not to take their eyes off. Whoever is, invite you to come to this film called Green Secret Accountant. The guy I just mentioned here is Chris. At birth, Chris brought in her autism. He kept screaming, struggling, break furniture if you hear stable or light. Always wear only one t-shirt and not let parents embrace like other children. But there is no other way. His parents had to take his son to a nerve center to find the cause. There are also quite special children here. A girl cannot control herself. There are always vulgar screaming actions. The expert told his parents as a special person and had a genius brain. He did not say that his son had autism. Indeed, what he said was completely grounded. When his parents had not finished talking, he finished a picture of the dress. However, because without a piece of graft, he began to show signs of not being able to control his behavior, always reading a co-assignment. It was not until a little girl gave him a last piece of mood that he could return to normal. Experts want his family to leave him here in the summer. He will help him develop his special ability completely free. But his father was a soldier. For him, what makes people scared, they must face rather than escape. EVAPS is only for cowardly and drowning people. His mother was a woman who loved, so she could not convince her conservative husband. So she chose to leave, leaving 2 sons for his father to nurture and marry a new husband. Just like what he said was doing, he nurtured and taught his 2 sons in the extremely fierce military environment. They grew up as mature as 2 warriors. As a result, anyone who hung himself was autistic, and was given to him. Under the parenting of the father, Chris also grew up and became a talented soldier. Still carrying an autistic disease, living in his father's harsh environment, he is the hardest person. But once hearing the news of her mother lost, her father and son came to the house to see her for the last time. Preventing him, unable to stand the feeling of being touched by others, Chris suddenly had an attack. Immediately, he used his power to lower a few people there, causing them to be hospitalized. But unfortunately, during the scuffle, a man accidentally pulled the trigger, the bullet shot and killed Chris's father. Because of that, he was imprisoned for a few years. Here, he got acquainted with a big tycoon in the financial world. Very quickly, they became a pair of friends. He told him many things, teach him a lot of work. What he taught Chris made him extremely fond of him. But one day, he was fulfilled in prison early, so he was released first. However, it was not long for him to release. He was captured by the gangsters. They tried to kill him as brutally as possible. Chris in prison heard that his only friend was killed. He tried to escape from prison. After beating the prisoner to leave the body, distorting the water container, he successfully escaped from imprisonment. No one knows where he went. In just one day, people heard that a gang of the cluster was all handled. They were attacked by a hidden person on the road. These names are killed by a crime device that is a fork taken at a cafe. The way he killed people had to speak as fast as lightning. In just one snap is a breathing man. After that, he walked inside his lair. A secret service of the treasury heard the gunfire and crossed the way to the place. But all he sees is just the body without soul lying around. Suddenly, he also pointed the gun at his head. But when he asked him a question, "Are you a good father?" he answered that he was not a good agent, but he was a good father. That answer saved him a life. After that, thanks to the genius brain, he worked as an accountant for those who had a face in the gangster. In order not to be revealed, he opened a small accounting office to Danger. He helped couples to declare taxes for them, making them extremely grateful, and constantly invited him home to play to thank. He also made many people want his daughter to give him and his niece. But for them, he only has work. Also, there is nothing related. Your answer to their good ideas is just one? In another development, a treasury incident, King, who had been killed by the killer, is now the director of the FBI. Today, he invited a data analyst to be named Medina work. Looking at the profile and what she shows, he asked her why she did not apply for an agent. But Medina said that she didn't like this position. Immediately, their old records were given by him. He discovered that what she declared in the current record was lying. In fact, she had a criminal record in the year at the age of 11, contains illegal weapons, assault, violence, even murder of others. The entire record was secret, but he had it in his hand. He used these things to force her to do something for herself, which was to investigate an accountant. This name specializes in working for gangster organizations. He can find the money that during the transaction was lost by anyone. He can even restore their finances for years and can find out who takes that money. Not only that, he can complete the job and still preserve his life. In the next 7 months he will retire, so he wants to find who this man is. Because every time he worked, he was often very smart, so he did not let anyone capture his face. Medina's job to do is to find out who this person is. Within a month, she was forced to find his identity. If not, her dirty records will be released to the media. Under his pressure, Medina has no choice but to start the work. She searched all the data needed, but even though she plowed the whole computer, she could not find any useful information. At this time, Chris had an invitation for his new job. It is working for a company specializing in manufacturing fake limbs. In a meeting with 2 financial directors of this company, Mr. AD and Mrs. Rita. Mr. AD said that this company has an extremely complex accounting system. There are hundreds of different shepherds. Employees are sufficient components. Before his introduction, Chris suggested that he wanted to see the entire book for the past few years since he became this position. He said that financial records had no problem, his president was just overreacting. He has been here since the newly established company, so there was no story he took of the company a cut without the permission of the director. After the meeting with the company's financial director, he went to the president of this company. His name is Lama. He said he had no children at all, this company was his child. Over the years, he has not cared about the financial and books of the company. Now he wants him to make his eyes, help him find the money lost from the company. During his job, he was willing to provide him with everything necessary. After that, he went to the company office to start his work. Here, he met the company's accountant, Dana. She was the one who found the abnormal point in the company's financial records. Must stay up all night to do so he came, she slept very soundly, and he did not know anything. The two of them had a chat without matching when she tried to get acquainted with him. But Chris, our family, is no different from the machine, makes her unable to continue but can only leave awkwardly. At lunchtime, the two of them accidentally sat near each other outside. Dana was surprised to see the water bottle of Chris was distorted on one side. Curious, she asked him about it. The answer she received was it was an old vase. Too curious about this wooden guy, Dana looked closer to chat with him. But their story is not much more fun. After lunch, Chris immediately started at work. He put all the records on the table, cassava up, and take a deep breath. The input of digging the records that any accountant can see immediately. At this time, Medina is still following the clues that are being able to find the other accountant. After rummaging out the image without any information, she could only cling to a recording from the scene. It was a recording of the assassin before dying. Although listening to hundreds of times over and over again, she still could not find any clues other than his repeated saying, "Call, you have never touched him." But it is true that heaven does not help anyone who knows how to try to the end. After using a series of sound filtration software, filtering, she heard an extremely small sound coming from the mouth of the assassin. She heard a poem that the name always read a code delivery. Hey. After one night of the cruel, sad walls, he has found many financial problems of the company. Certainly, the company's money has been reduced by the sea. Many data were fake, many papers were declared. He let Dana review everything he found and confirmed what she found before was right. Dana was extremely surprised by the ability of Chris to calculate the company's books for a year took several months. But it only took one night he had calculated for 15 years. Chris not only found the lost money, but he also found the source of money to be a ghost company. But the book still states that the profit of the company increases, which is absurd. However, both of them were not in time to celebrate. At this time, the financial director, Mrs. Rita, went into the room and did not allow Dana to stay here anymore. After knowing the amount of money the company lost was more than $60 million, she wanted him to make a report to himself and leave immediately. That night, the financial director was also broken into the house by a group of people. They asked him, one was to inject poison himself to break him to enjoy the insurance he bought. Secondly, if he resisted, they would create a robbery of murder. Not only that, his wife will also be raped and killed. The next morning, when Chris came to the company, the figures he wrote all over the room were wiped out. Not only that, President Lama paid for him later, not for him do anything else. Although he said this is not done, but he thought that his friend had to commit suicide, which means that he had to pay for what he did was more than enough. He did not want to dig anymore. For a person with autism like Chris, if anything he could not improve, his body would be extremely uncomfortable. But now he is grown up, unable to destroy his head as a child anymore. He can only control his emotions by torturing and torturing himself. The next morning, while practicing shooting near the house, the group of children killed. Financial director came to his neighbor's house. They threatened and forced their wives to call Chris. But when she had just called first, the name between the wife ate immediately the bullet, collapsed on the spot. The remaining mouth of the feathers began to be wild. Lean forced both husband and wife to go to the car hostage. But he is not gone for so long, then Chris used his gun to shoot at his car. A shot causes the car to give the island. At this time, Chris rushed over, jumped on the trunk of the car, caught him, threw down the car. The name of the mouth is still aggressive, holding a knife to handle Chris. But what is his age compared to him? Chris quickly pulled out his hand, tightening his neck. After that, forcing him to declare who ordered them to come here. This name only gave him a card, Dana. He said she and he were two of them that they were ordered to spend. After breaking his neck and mouth, he immediately called the secretary of Anonymous, talking about himself and Dana is being monitored and is becoming the target of the assassins. She said, please go back to the trunk, a mobile room in the car, and left. You don't need to care about Dana anymore. His mission is to hide as soon as possible. However, do not know what is told. He still forced her to find the home address and phone number of Dana. But when she called Dana, she felt strange, so she didn't answer. At this time, Chris had just arrived at Dana's door. From the outside, he saw her going into the house and the back had a man right afterwards. Not wanting to be discovered, he ran after the stairs to go up. At this time, when Dana came to his room, there were a few names that had been carried in advance. They used a stroller and carried an additional barrel to make her close after killing. When Dana had just entered the house, the door was not closed. A guy at that moment rushed in and rode her into the kitchen. Taking advantage of when he was still talking to his accomplices, she held the whole bow and hit him in the face. After that, quickly fleeing into the toilet and fired a gun into the door, causing Dana to find a way to escape. Outside, Chris has eliminated 2 guards with a gun. And inside, he corrected the other name. When the other guy discovered Dana in the shower, he was about to handle her when Chris rushed in to give 2 copper candies, then lead Dana to leave. On the Medina side, after sending the recording of a homogeneous post she obtained to the person, "If you are in the FBI to investigate, she has nothing, but she is a person with autism." But such people cannot be identified with the naked eye. After that, she continued to search based on small clues. She went to people with this disease, but had the ability to mathematically. Since then, she has minimized the scope and found people aged 2 years to over 40, has $1 million income, doesn't invest, and anything focuses on cash. Money wearing glasses. After giving people to kill Chris and Dana, he was very angry and did not understand why the accountants were so hard to play. He decided to take action on his own. At this time, Chris also took Dana to his warehouse. It was a car hook like a small mobile house. Seeing you have such a strange place, Dana cannot understand him. She did not know he had autism, so when seeing everything here is very unusual. Chris took some money and weapons, then take her to a luxury hotel. At this point, Dana said that she had no money to rent such an expensive place. Chris said that he would be for her, so she didn't have to worry. That evening, it was probably the first time to stay with a girl, so our accountant did not seem very calm. When Dana called him to sit in the chair to talk to him, he slowly came. Looking at him right now, there was no assassin at all, but just like a boy. The two had a pretty open conversation. Chris told her about her childhood, about the disease he suffered, and the girl also told him about things that seemed to be unloading. Dana asked him why he chose this place. Chris said it gives him a pleasant feeling, and it is important that he wants to bring good things to her. Chris's saying made Dana extremely touched by the guy with a crazy face, but his heart was extremely warm like this. The two of them seemed a bit more intimate, but when Dana approached, Chris hurriedly stood up. He doesn't seem to be familiar with the intimate close things. They talk about another story, which is to find out how the 2 financial directors take the company's money to share. They don't understand why, if invited Chris came to investigate the books, he would expose everything they still did. To find that answer, they have to ask her, Rita. That night, Chris set out to her house. Then the secretary called him to say that he immediately had to leave if he didn't want to die. But Chris did not do that. If you do that, then Dana will be in danger. He wanted to find the one who sent the person to kill her and gave him a bullet in his head. The secretary didn't understand why he could risk his life for a girl who had just gained a week like that. But she couldn't answer her, but can only go to work that you should do. Chris came to Miss Rita's house. When outside, he saw a black shirt. This name, and he seems to have the same goal. He saw Mr. Dean give 2 welcome bullets. Luckily, Chris avoided. Then, when she entered Rita's house, through the reflective erection, he saw that she had been killed by someone before. Maybe that black name? After returning to the hotel, Chris saw that Dana was sleeping well. He kept watching her sleep, suddenly feeling strangely peaceful inside. But suddenly, he recalled his father's words as a child. Sooner or later, the difference also makes people afraid. Perhaps in Chris's icy heart, there was a place for this little girl. But he knew that he was too different from her, so he chose to leave in attachment, leaving only an encouragement on her paper. On this side, Medilla, after searching for many days, she finally found the accounting name that the director asked. She immediately reported to him, "That is Chris." They discovered that he had a small accounting office, but it was just a cover. The amount he earned each year, more than $1 million. However, he opened a series of different stores, but not for business, but just a place to wash money. The money he earns is only to charity for a nerve center, specializing in treating diseases for people who have problems like Chris. They were surprised about him. Once information and addresses, they immediately set out to Chris's house, and discovered his house was a fortress with a lot of advanced weapons. He also equips himself with a machine gun in the garden. After finishing the job, everyone came back. Only the director of the Suda and Medina stayed. He told her about the clash with a killer and almost shot dead. But what is better? About a soldier, but in the funeral. How did his mother beat people and were arrested? Regarding his connection with him, a bunch of money laundering. All the people he mentioned, he reflected in. He knew it was Chris, an accountant. He told her about the day when he was about to quit his job, receiving a call from the secretary of an accountant. She informed him about the business missions of the gangsters about to take place, so that he had broken many big and small cases and was promoted today. But he did not know who the accountant was. That's why he wanted her to find this truth before retiring. When the two of them were talking, a call to Chris's secretary. She said the director put her leg down from Chris's table. This is not a horse bell. At this time, Chris also went to the lair of the pursuit. As it turned out, President Llama was the one behind this case. He withdraws the company's money to evade taxes, then send it back. Just doing that, he earned a lot of money, and pocketed his own pocket. When finished, did not want all to be exposed, so he sought to eliminate accounting to silence. But he did not expect to meet the assassin accountant, Chris. Then, perhaps his fading day was not far away. The assassins were hired by the old man who was very strict for him. They also have a security camera system from outside to inside. But this is not easy to make it difficult Chris. He has always been in the name of the gate. Then he controlled a name. Getting this guy to declare the diagram of Llama, the leader, the assassins he hired to constantly contact the outside guards. But until no name was answered, he suddenly had a bit of wild. At that moment, Chris used his machine gun to repeatedly enter the house, causing them to lie down to the ground to avoid. The external names are almost all lowered. At this time, the leader ordered the juniors out, only he stayed. But any name was defeated by Chris. After that, he greeted the roof and penetrated it inside. Lao Lao's men also risked their death in the sword, but did not expect this to be the day they're pitting. Chris continued in. Clashing with a big sun, the two sides struggled from top to bottom, breaking the glass door. At first, the fat man seemed to dominate because he recorded Chris, but he was not a player. After a struggle, he pulled out his grenade and stuffed it into the bulletproof shirt of this man. After that, carrying the grenade exploded, so the name of the fat name was finished. Chris was also injured at the foot, but his fighting power remains. He could not leave if the danger remains. He sat in one place and constantly sang the familiar song, which he still read when his spirit was a bit dirty. The leader looks through the camera screen. His army was destroyed, and the one who had stormed here was his brother. When listening to Chris read the same article, he confirmed that. He walked out to meet Chris. At that moment, a name from behind was about to sell Chris when he was given a bullet. Chris now discovered the murderer ever, his younger brother, Basan. Unexpectedly, after a long time of not meeting, they reunited in this situation. But he has not completed the job, so told my brother to go first. But the younger brother doesn't want to go. He questioned Chris later to his mother's mourning. He abandoned his onions because of Chris. His father died. Chris was not good at explaining, so he could only apologize to his brother. Basan finally understood his brother. He just blamed why he didn't contact you. Chris said that I didn't want you to be in danger, because the people I did were all dangerous. Chris did not expect his brother to go on this road. Lao Llama does not understand anything when Basan does not destroy Chris. Only when you talk, he understood the problem. The old man met Chris and explained everything, that he did it only to earn a lot of money, and then did good deeds of all kinds. But smooth tongue of the thug, Chris heard no hand. He straightened his hand to log on the spot. After a while talking to each other, both brothers have understood that they are not close to each other, but they always love each other. Chris made an appointment for another week to see her brother. In the film, Medina was promoted as an agent, but she chose to keep Chris secret. Perhaps the things that the Suda told her was the scene in that nerve center with the Sophia girl, the little girl whom Chris found out to find the last piece of the mass. And that is also the mysterious secretary of Chris. She was bought by him in a terrible computer sticker to be able to work for herself. Dana could not contact Chris, who came to the house to find him, but Chris had left when he did not know. She was disappointed back. After that, she received a parcel sent. It was a picture of gambling tricks. As when notice a puncture above, she peeled off and saw behind. It was a famous painting, costing millions of dollars. It was the gift that Chris gave her before leaving. She hung the picture in the most luxurious place in the house and smiled silently. Elsewhere on the road, Chris had followed his mobile house to another place. Not knowing who to think of that, for the first time, we saw Chris seemed to be smiling. There is no way to get happy for both of them, makes us a little sorry for this cute couple. But maybe that's the best way for them. The film is a combination of Lotus stories in a big story, but there is a strange, dirty combination. There is no van at all. It makes viewers unable to take their eyes off the movie, even for a minute. Just over a dozen minutes of review, I will definitely not be able to say all the beauty as well as the depth and emotional circuit of the film. Please experience yourself. Yes, the film also ends here. Thanks for watching to the end. If you like movies, check out these recaps from my channel. Goodbye, and see you again in the next videos.